Since the dawn of time, the garden has epitomized paradise. Not surprisingly, we call it the Garden of Eden. And yet, it's fashioned and designed by the hand of man. With the help of nature, we create a world of beguiling scents and colours. But many of the creatures living in our gardens go unnoticed. They carry out their lives in private, hidden from our eyes. It's a secret world right under our feet. It's the end of winter, and each day the sun is gaining in strength. As the snow and ice start to melt, the first buds open. The golden, spidery blooms of the witch hazel. Exotic plants such as these live alongside native animals today, an eclectic mix created by generations of gardeners. People have cultivated gardens for over 5,000 years. First, they served to provide food for our kitchens. But soon these gave way to ornamental gardens, designed to impress with their beauty. The first to emerge from under the snow, colourful crocuses, which soon carpet the ground. Dainty snowdrops push their way through the white blanket. They herald the arrival of spring. The weasel is a common garden resident, but it's fast and elusive, so rarely seen. This one has spotted a mouse. The woodpile seems the perfect hiding place, but the weasel can follow through the smallest of gaps. A lucky getaway for the mouse. The first warm days of spring, but food is still scarce on the ground. Some, like the red squirrel, have planned ahead. It has stashed away acorns and nuts in over 100 different places throughout our gardens, underground or up trees. And now it's time to retrieve the emergency rations. A hedgehog has spent the winter hibernating underneath a pile of wood and leaves. As the days become warmer, it emerges, looking for its first meal in months. A hungry hedgehog will even venture out during the day. An earthworm would make a welcome snack, rarely come above ground, where they are easy prey. But the hedgehog wasn't fast enough. This worm has got away. A fence may keep out human visitors, but it's no hindrance for a hedgehog. Or indeed, creatures with wings. Honeybees are one of the first attracted to the fresh growth of spring flowers. It's a pact that was formed millions of years ago. The bees collect nectar and pollen for their hive, and in return, they pollinate the flowers. The emergence of flowers and insects is a trigger for others. High above our heads, birds are getting ready to set up homes and raise their families. But good nest sites are hard to come by, and these apartments are on the territory of a grumpy neighbour. The nuthatch is not willing to share his patch with noisy sparrows. The sparrows are persistent and settle in to furnish their new homes. But the nuthatch is still not putting up with the intruders. Sometimes there's just no easy way to keep the neighbours happy. A male starling proclaims his readiness to mate with an elaborate song. A blackbird is also out to impress. The entire garden erupts in a frenzy of activity as the breeding season draws near. The female marsh tit has set her eyes on some soft green moss to line her nest. Every nook and cranny is inspected to check if it's suitable as a nursery. This sparrow has discovered the perfect supply of building material, pre-packaged and with a bill-sized opening. The tolerant owners of this house have even permitted a pair of great tits to move into their letterbox. This is the luxury suite, sheltered and secure from intruders. A special nest box under the roof has attracted a pair of kestrels. The female is already sitting on eggs, keeping them warm from the cold night air. Whilst the birds settle down to sleep, the garden awakens to the night shift. Snails and slugs emerge with the first green shoots of spring. They seem to disappear from our gardens during winter, but in fact, many hibernate underground. Surprisingly, plants grow faster at night. The darkness switches on genes that trigger a rhythmic spurt in growth. By morning, the flowers have unfurled to greet the first of the sun's rays. Within days, the garden is transformed into a glorious sea of colour. Stunning blossoms derived from what were once delicate wild flowers. Our love for gardens has created a unique habitat to please our senses, but it also provides a home for a variety of animals. And our efforts at gardening are watched with great interest by some of its inhabitants. A blackbird is keeping a close eye on the happenings below. It knows from experience that digging is likely to reveal a morsel or two. An earthworm. The blackbird's chicks have hatched, and it has many hungry mouths to feed. Earthworms form the main part of their diet. Other creatures take a greater interest in what we plant in our gardens. The death's head hawk moth lays its eggs on young tomato seedlings, providing its caterpillars with their favourite food when they hatch. As temperatures rise, shrubs and trees burst into life with fresh green leaves and colourful blossoms. The cherry blossom trees may be mainly ornamental, but they provide the first flush of insects for many birds. This letterbox has also attracted a pair of great tits. Their chicks have already hatched, and the parent birds are working hard to feed the growing youngsters. Over the next 3 weeks, they'll collect nearly 10,000 caterpillars. For the garden owner, it's an effective and natural form of pest control. Nearly 2,000 kinds of ornamental flowers are found in our modern garden. Each month has its own particular blooms and colours. Our gardens are an invaluable refuge for wildlife in a changing landscape. They create a network of corridors through our urban jungles, providing as much habitat as all our nature reserves put together. And there's plenty of food and shelter for those looking to raise their young. After 4 weeks of incubating the eggs, the kestrels have hatched their chicks. The female continues to care for the young, while the male keeps a lookout for potential prey. The young kestrels are still vulnerable to the cold, so their mother broods them under her wings. Back at the great tit box, the demanding chicks make their intentions quite clear. The insatiable youngsters need feeding over and over again. The parent birds don't have to look far to replenish their supplies. Caterpillars are plentiful at this time of year. And already there is demand for the new delivery. As spring gives way to early summer, apple trees erupt in spectacular blossom. A profusion of delicate apple-scented flowers that descend in a shower of confetti. It's a seemingly extravagant display. Thousands of flowers to produce just a few hundred apples, of which only one may grow into a new tree. But nature is never wasteful. Everything has a purpose, and everything is recycled. Even the empty shell of a snail. Someone is investigating the discarded housing. A mason bee. It looks much like any other bee, but it makes its nest in empty snail shells. The female has laid her eggs inside the shell, and now she needs to seal the entrance with small stones. And then she's off in search of other building material. Small sticks is what she's after. The tiny insect can carry her own weight in building material and still fly. All day she hurries back and forth, gathering over 100 sticks. Soon, her precious nest is well concealed under a pile of wood. A final check. Maybe just one more stick. The furry mason bee makes a very different kind of nest. Cutting a circular piece out of a petal, she folds it into a neat package. She's chosen a cavity in a rock as her nest and is padding the hole with a colourful lining. Then she's off again, in search of more. There's plenty of choice. The garden is awash with colour. This time, she picks the yellow flowers of the golden flax. She wraps up another little parcel and is on her way. The purpose of this elaborate interior design is still a mystery. The nest hole now receives a layer of yellow wallpaper. Creating the perfect nursery for baby is clearly of importance. Our gardens hide numerous small creatures with remarkable and secret lives. It's the more conspicuous animals, however, that gain our attention. The male kestrel has returned to the nest empty-handed, but there are still plenty of supplies in the nest box. It's been a good year for voles, and the kestrels are likely to raise all their chicks to fledging. Kestrels suffered a serious decline in the 50s and 60s from the widespread use of pesticides. Since then, their numbers have recovered, and they will happily nest in boxes or ledges on our buildings. Today's gardener takes pride not just in planting pretty flowers, but in creating different habitats. The raised rock garden provides perfect conditions for hardy alpine plants, like the purple rock cress. The vibrant flowers attract a curious garden visitor, a large bee fly. It's hairy like a bee and hovers like one, but it is in fact a fly. A fly that has mastered the art of deception. Nearby, on a sunny grassy bank, hundreds of wild bees are busy making their nests. They're being watched by the bee fly. It's got its eyes set on a bee's nest in the ground. Hovering directly above, it waits for its chance. The moment the nest owner leaves, the imposter gets into position. With perfect aim, it launches its missile. Within seconds, it has flicked its own egg into the nest. When the larva hatches, it will devour the grub of its victim. Dry stone walls bordering the garden are another unique habitat. Mountain specialists, like the hardy geraniums, thrive here, finding a foothold between the rocks. The common rock rose with its mass of yellow blooms, and the wood pink, covering the walls in dense cushions of green and violet. The cracks and crevices between the stones provide cover for some of the rarer garden visitors, sand lizards. During the breeding season, the males turn bright green. It's a signal to other males. This territory is taken. Nonetheless, it sometimes comes to disagreements. A female watches with interest from the sidelines. The rivals are locked head to head in a stalemate. Sand lizards have lost much of their natural heathland habitat to human development, so rock gardens like this are a crucial refuge for them. The combat is over, and the winner gets to mate with the female. Mating can take several minutes, and the male may stay and guard her for a while from rivals. In due time, she'll lay her eggs nearby, under a rock or in a burrow. Sand lizards feed on insects, but this cockchafer beetle is too big a mouthful. Also known as the May bug, the large beetle was once abundant in Europe, appearing in our gardens on warm summer evenings. They were a favourite with children, inspiring songs and games. But cockchafers were also regarded as pests and nearly eradicated in the 20th century. They're slowly reappearing in our gardens and are a welcome meal for birds. The great tits are busier than ever. Their young are growing bigger by the day and need constant feeding. The parents now bring food to the nest up to 30 times an hour. There's no time for rest. The brightly coloured gapes and loud calls are a clear "feed me" signal. But each delivery can only satisfy one hungry customer. As spring turns to summer, carpets of daisies add a cheerful splash of colour to our lawns. They have delighted us for centuries, symbolising purity, childhood, and innocence. The bright, sunny flowers will last all summer, and yet they're regarded by some as weeds. Dandelions also make a bid for our lawns. The glorious white seed heads and yellow flowers are the bane of gardeners, but they've enchanted children for generations. Each seed has a tiny parachute that lifts it up in the air. Light as feathers, they float effortlessly across fences and borders, carried by the wind. Eventually, they'll settle in another garden, to the delight of the owner, or at least his children. Another traveller moves easily from garden to garden. A slug. Even the hungry hedgehog makes way for this determined voyager. The slug is heading straight for the enticing vegetable patch. And it's not the only sticky customer attracted to the salad bar. Slugs and snails from all around have picked up the alluring scent. A single snail can munch its way through 200 square centimetres of lettuce in a night. And a snail invasion can decimate an entire vegetable patch. They go for the young and tender leaves first. Within minutes, a plant is stripped to the ground. With their taste for greens, snails and slugs are the gardener's enemy number one. The rasping mouthparts make easy meals of the soft leaves. But usually, plenty remains for our own kitchen tables, and the leftovers end up in the garden again, on the compost heap. The rotting pile of vegetables is a magnet for creatures that often go unnoticed. The rose chafer beetle lays its eggs in the compost. When the larvae hatch, they don't have far to go to find a meal. The putrid mound is crawling with tiny worms and insects, centipedes and millipedes, woodlice and earthworms. All help to break down our kitchen waste. And amongst the decay, new life is born. Turning our waste into valuable garden compost are microorganisms, invisible to the human eye, bacteria and fungi. There are billions of them in one compost heap, more than there are people on Earth. A myriad of fruit flies is also drawn to the fermenting mass. And these, in turn, attract hunters. A last-minute escape for the fly. In every corner of the garden, the battle for survival continues. The flamboyant fuchsias, originally from South America, are not only popular with gardeners, but also a favourite with some of our native animals. The caterpillars of the elephant hawk moth gorge themselves on the juicy leaves and flowers. The plump caterpillar would make a sizable meal for any bird, but on its back it has 2 pairs of large eyes. They're not for seeing with, but for being seen. The huge eye spots are enough to scare off most predators. The caterpillar has reached full size, but it needs to pupate underground. To do so, it has to find a way down. a brave jump into the abyss. And a quick retreat to cover. Caterpillars are the prime target for breeding birds, and there are plenty of those around at this time of year. It's early summer, and the garden has turned into a backyard jungle. There's an abundance of insect food, and the starlings have no trouble feeding their noisy brood. Natural tree holes, on the other hand, are in short supply. Old trees are often taken down, and birds increasingly depend on nest boxes or other man-made cavities. The great tit also naturally nests in hollow trees, not in letterboxes. As summer gets underway, more and more feeding stations become available. Ripe fruits attract not just hungry birds, but also more unusual visitors. The long-horned beetle, more commonly found in warmer climates. It has a taste for sweet, ripe cherries. Garden owners don't take kindly to those that deprive them of their pickings, but the longhorn, like many others, only goes for overripe or damaged fruit. Every little piece of green provides food for our garden residents, and none more so than the fertile vegetable patch. Gardeners are seeing the fruits of their labour. The vegetable garden is filled with intoxicating smells and flavours. As the roots penetrate deep into the rich, fertilised soil, they suck up nutrients, which turn into strong green shoots above. But hidden from our eyes, others are secretly harvesting some of the bounty. Small field voles have made a network of tunnels underneath the vegetable plot. Unbeknown to the gardener, they're stealing some of his precious crop. They nibble on roots and shoots and can damage a plant from below. Field voles are prolific breeders, producing young up to 7 times a year. They live in nearly every garden, and yet we rarely catch a glimpse of these elusive creatures. Although they're active during the day, field voles rarely leave the safety of cover. They scurry along runs underneath the vegetation, keeping well out of sight. And they have good reason to be cautious. Voles are target number 1 for many hunters. Kestrels kill over 1,000 voles and mice to raise a single brood of chicks. The male returns to the nest with fresh supplies. He calls to his partner to hand over the goods. Preparing the meal for babies is clearly Mother's job. But she simply dropped the parcel at their feet. The youngsters need to learn to feed themselves. She watches from outside. In the end, she relents. Maybe just this one more time. Down below, the sun's warm rays are transforming the vegetable garden. Strawberry plants unfurl their flowers to be pollinated by passing insects. Each delicate flower then turns into a small green fruit that slowly sinks to the ground. As the fruit grows and ripens, it blushes a deep red. Now it sends off a strong, sweet scent that is irresistible, not just to humans. The low-hanging fruit is within easy reach of slugs and snails. Many plants package their seeds in berries to ensure they're eaten by animals. The strawberry may be trying to entice ground-living creatures. With its rasping tongue, the slug slices off small pieces of fruit, swallowing the seeds. An unappetizing outcome for us, but a good one for the fruit. Unfortunately, strawberries and cream is a dead end from the strawberry's point of view. Other plants also have partnerships with animals. The green buds of the peony flower produce small droplets of nectar to attract ants. And the ants gratefully accept the offering. The sugary liquid is high in energy content, and in exchange, the ants protect the peony from insects that might damage its bud. Any intruder, once detected, is immediately set upon. When the large petals of the peony open to reveal the beautiful flower inside, the ant's job is done, and the sugary supply dries up. These soft, luscious blossoms, with their fragrant smell, are many a gardener's delight. Even summer is no guarantee for good weather. For birds still raising their young, the wind and rain can be a serious challenge. Some garden residents are sheltered from the worst of the elements, but if the rain continues, they will not be able to feed their chicks. Our summers are becoming wetter due to global warming. How will our wildlife cope with these new and unpredictable conditions? Many parts of Europe now suffer from extensive flooding each year. Thousands of homes and gardens are also victim to this deluge. After prolonged periods of rain, the water comes from both above and below. Where do insects and small mammals go when everything is underwater? Small insect eaters like the great tit are particularly vulnerable. Hunger and cold can be a deadly combination. The hard-working pair, nesting in the letterbox, were unable to find enough food for their chicks. They've lost their entire brood. It finally stops raining, and for some, there is time to try again. Many of our garden birds will raise more than one brood during the summer. That now stands them in good stead. The last drops of water fall to the ground. And disperse the seeds on a flower head. Next year, some of them may sprout and grow to bear new flowers. This lush oasis of green within our man-made landscapes has a special role in our lives. The changing seasons bring new shapes and colours and continually unfolding dramas right under our eyes. The sweet fruits of our labour find favour with people and animals, and sometimes even with our pets. Tortoises are not typical garden residents, but in our man-made Garden of Eden, curious plants and animals live alongside each other. The garden may be created by man, but it provides homes to numerous wild creatures. It's our own Garden of Eden, which we're fortunate to share with some remarkable and sometimes secretive wildlife. Sweet-smelling rows of flowers and all kinds of charming and exquisite creatures. It's our idyllic view of the perfect garden. But there's more to the garden than meets the eye. Nature will not conform to our rules, and we know little of what really goes on in our back gardens. Many of the creatures that live here lead secretive and mysterious lives, hidden in the bushes and the undergrowth. It's midsummer, and at the kestrel nest, the chicks are old enough to leave. To fly as gracefully as their mother will take some practice. She swoops past them in a sharp dive to encourage them to follow, but the chicks don't seem convinced. She gives up and returns with breakfast. Perhaps they'll be in the mood later. Even in the heat of summer, the garden is an oasis with its own supply of water. The plants rarely have to go dry. They're sheltered and protected, lovingly tended to by the gardener. This man-made habitat is unlike any other, the equivalent of a luxury spa for plants. As a result, an unusual assortment of plants can grow side by side. But the colourful blossoms are not intended simply for our delight. They are, in fact, complex structures designed for reproduction. The large head of the sunflower consists of a cluster of many individual blossoms. The outer petals are long and flashy to attract passing insects. The small florets in the centre contain the pollen and nectar and will eventually turn into seeds. Many others, like chrysanthemums and zinnias, also produce a mass of tiny flowers within one bloom. The large floral petals around the edge are sterile. Their sole purpose is to draw in insect pollinators. But the grand dame of them all must surely be the dahlia. The spectacular tapestry of shapes and colours was created to delight the human eye. Hundreds of years of cultivation have turned a small and simple flower into glorious blossoms. But while the dahlia's beauty may enchant our eyes, its soft flowers please another creature's palate. Slugs. They are the gardener's bane. Seemingly appearing out of nowhere, they attack the cherished flowers with a voracious appetite. For many gardeners, this assault on their prize plants is a call to battle. They have an arsenal of weapons at their disposal, colourful pellets to counter slug attacks. And for the enemy hiding in the trenches, to outwit the underground battalion. And strategic military intelligence for a counter-offensive on weeds. But unknown to many gardeners, there are secret allies hiding in the bushes. Inside the greenhouse, the warm and damp conditions are ideal for growing vegetables. They've also attracted a colony of paper wasps that have built their nest in the glass ceiling. When the heat inside builds up to uncomfortable levels, the workers help cool the air with rapid wing beats. Others go in search of water. Like tiny water bombers, they fill up their tank and carry it back to the nest. The cooling drink is shared among the colony. The green balls are cabbage-white caterpillars chewed into a pulp to feed the larvae. The wasps help to keep these garden pests under control, and the whole colony may dispose of 500 caterpillars in a season. This secret army of helpers usually goes unnoticed and is seldom appreciated. More often than not, we thank them by destroying their nests. Uninvited garden visitors will frequently face our displeasure, and some plants also seem to be less welcome than others. None more so than the common and pervasive stinging nettle. They are often regarded as troublesome weeds, but nettles are crucial for many of our moths and butterflies. They provide valuable food for the caterpillars. The caterpillars of some species feed exclusively on nettles, and they're not put off by the stinging hairs. In fact, these help to keep predators at bay. Even the prickly hedgehog seeks cover amongst the leaves. Few predators are likely to follow him here. The nettle's fine hairs break off easily on contact and inject an irritant poison into the skin. The unpleasant sensation ensures that caterpillars and hedgehogs are left in peace. At dusk, the hedgehog leaves the safety of his hideout. He's got urgent business to attend to. He's picked up the scent of a female. He circles her to signal his intentions. This courtship dance can last for several hours. At last, she is willing, and their marriage is consummated in a bed of nettles. All around them, caterpillars of the small tortoiseshell butterfly are busy feeding on the nettles. And since the prickly plants offer good protection, they don't go far to transform into a pupa. This curious yet strangely beautiful structure is called a chrysalis. It gives little indication of the extraordinary transformation taking place inside. Two weeks later, and the secret is revealed. A perfectly formed butterfly emerges. The wings still need to be pumped up, and the feeding tube, which is split in two parts, must be zipped together. Red admirals are also emerging from their pupae. Both tortoiseshell and admiral head straight for the buddleia flower to fuel up. There's a good reason why the buddleia is known as the butterfly bush. Rich in nectar, it acts as a magnet for our most popular summer visitors. But this nectar feeder is no butterfly. It's a kind of moth. It hovers in mid-air while feeding, so is sometimes mistaken for a hummingbird, hence its name, hummingbird hawk moth. Real hummingbirds pollinate this North American honeysuckle in the wild. In our European gardens, it remains unfertilized and bears no fruit. Amongst the colourful and exotic, our smaller garden creatures are often overlooked. A jumping spider. They have superb eyesight and can judge the distance they need to jump perfectly. A dragline of silk helps stabilise the fall and control the landing. But should a male land in the territory of another, especially when there's a female about, things can come to a head. Sometimes the only way out is a jump to freedom. In summer, the garden is a hive of activity, with animals and plants all out to breed and propagate. Wild roses attract numerous insect visitors. Honeybees collect nectar and pollen to feed their young. As they travel from flower to flower, they inadvertently pollinate the plants. But not all visitors are this helpful. The large rose chafer beetle is after the soft petals and will make a meal of the entire flower. It gives nothing in return for the plant's hospitality. Wild roses provide plenty of food for insects, but their ornamental cousins, bred for their attractive blooms, carry very little pollen or nectar. Nonetheless, there are insects which fatten up quite successfully on cultivated roses. aphids. They use their sharp mouthparts to pierce into the soft stems, sucking the sap and life out of the plant. Luckily, help is at hand: ladybirds. They may look endearing, but they're ferocious predators. A single ladybird will eat nearly 10,000 aphids during the course of a summer. Not surprisingly, they're a gardener's best friend. Roses have long been symbols of love and beauty. They've been our passion for millennia and continue to delight gardeners today. For many of us, our garden is a place of tranquility, our secret escape. It's a sanctuary from busy lives, where we can reconnect with nature and watch the seasons go by. Tending to our plants and nurturing seedlings can provide unexpected pleasure. It's fuel for the soul. This is our own Garden of Eden, to shape and design as we please. With summer in full swing, the gardener's efforts are starting to bear fruit. The tomato is one of our most popular garden vegetables. Originally from Mexico, the ancient Aztecs valued its sweet flesh more than 2,000 years ago. They called it shitomatl. Today, it's grown and eaten all over the world, a staple ingredient in our culinary dishes and valued for its savoury flavour. But it's not the plump red fruits that another garden resident is after. The caterpillar of the death's head hawk moth has a taste for the tomato's leaves. The caterpillar, when fully grown, is as big as a man's finger. It seeks out a sheltered spot and burrows underground. Here, it will turn into a pupa. It will be another month before the moth emerges from the brown cocoon. Other insects are also feasting in the vegetable patch. Bees are attracted by the large yellow flowers with a promise of nectar deep within. The food is a bribe to persuade the animals to act as couriers, transporting pollen, ensuring a crop of large, round pumpkins in a few weeks' time. While most of our garden produce makes its way into our kitchens, some also finds its way out again. In many households, it ends up on the compost heap in a quiet corner of the garden. But even here, hidden from our eyes, a colourful community of creatures thrives. This ample supply of food will not go to waste. These are rich pickings for small animals. largest predators on the rotting pile, but they pose little threat to humans. The old saying that 3 stings from a hornet can kill a human and 7 can kill a horse is a myth. Their sting is no more painful than a bee's. And these hornets are after the remains of sweet fruit. But fruit salad is only the first course at this buffet. The main meal is still to follow. Hornets also prey on other insects, and being larger in size than most, they have the advantage. A wasp is easily disposed of with a bite of those powerful jaws. And there is an abundance of small flies. The compost heap is the perfect hunting ground. But the kill is not intended for personal consumption. The hornet carries it back to the nest. European hornets usually build their nests in hollow trees, but since these are in short supply, this colony has moved into an empty bird box. The returning worker is greeted by her colony members. The parcel of food, already partly chewed, is passed on to another worker. She is the childminder and will take it through to the nursery. There, the larvae are fed on the nutritious insect paste. The colony numbers 500 workers, but by the end of the summer, it could have doubled in size. Other workers are busy with repairs to the nest. New walls are constantly added, made from a pulp of wood and saliva. The entire colony works tirelessly to bring food and building materials to the nest. A yellowhammer's cheerful song resonates through the garden. Back on the compost heap, there's an unusual arrival. A grass snake had laid a clutch of eggs in the pile of rotting vegetables in late spring. Now, the tiny snakelets are hatching. A brood of snakes in the compost may be disconcerting for some, but grass snakes are completely harmless. They don't bite, even when accidentally disturbed. The small, worm-like creatures are no larger than a pencil. The warm and damp conditions on the pile were ideal for incubating the eggs. Now, the tiny reptiles squirm away to independence. Real worms live in the compost all year round. 20 to 30 different kinds live in our gardens, and the red earthworm is one of the most common. It eats scraps of vegetation and breaks them up into smaller parts. The rich compost eventually ends up fertilizing flower beds and lawns. But underneath the lush grass, other creatures are at work. And a clue to their presence are the distinctive mounds they leave on our lawns. Moles are busy beavering away beneath our feet. They are industrious diggers. They create an intricate system of tunnels and chambers underground. In one of these, they store live prey, earthworms, paralyzed by a bite. Moles only feed on worms and insects. The much maligned animals, in fact, do very little damage to our plants. These ripening berries are in no danger from the subterranean digger. Beneath the ripening berries, the short grass and abundant shade are perfect conditions for small mushrooms, stalked puffballs. They thrive in our gardens where water is plentiful, even at the height of summer. The life-giving water provides more than ideal growing conditions for mushrooms and berries. The ripe fruit sac of the puffball explodes under the onslaught of drops, releasing precious spores into the air. Other fungi also thrive in the damp, nutrient-rich soil. The shaggy ink cap has a distinctive white cylinder that quickly turns black. The slimy liquid oozing from the darkening edges of the cap is filled with spores and drips to the ground. It's the ink cap's way of propagating itself. At night, our gardens come alive with very different creatures. The night shift is one we rarely catch a glimpse of. Emerging out of the shadows, a red fox. Foxes have become regular visitors to urban gardens, attracted by the chance of an easy meal. On warm summer nights, strange sounds emerge from the garden shed. Small goblins are out and about. edible dormice. They're so called because they were eaten as snacks by the Romans. The squirrel-like creatures are out of sight, asleep for 8 months of the year. But now they have to fatten up and double their weight in time for hibernation. They mostly feed on fruits and seeds, and the garden shed offers plenty of opportunity. In the early hours of the morning, the little rascals retreat back to their nest. A hollow tree or empty bird box serves as a daytime hideout. When the sun rises above the horizon, the dormice are safely tucked up in bed. Little wonder we rarely see these elusive creatures. By late summer, the trees are bursting with ripe fruit. Most animals are well into the breeding season or have finished rearing their young. But there is one creature that's only just starting to build its nest. The field digger wasp. She works tirelessly, excavating a breeding cavity in the loose sand. It's a tricky business. The delicate construction can cave in at the slightest disturbance. And she has no shortage of visitors. A male wasp looking for prospective females. But she has already mated, and her message is clear. This lady is not for the taking. When the coast is clear, she heads off towards the flower beds. The sweet-smelling borders are brimming with insects. Rich pickings for insect eaters like the flycatcher. The female wasp has also been successful. She brings a juicy fly back to the burrow. A passing male knows there's little to be gained by stopping here. The female is stocking up the nest with food for her offspring. The flycatcher is also providing for her young. But she will need hundreds of flies to raise her chicks. The first leaves are turning, a sign that autumn is on its way. But even now, some flowers are just coming into bloom, adding a last splash of colour to our gardens. The beautiful flowers of the Michaelmas daisy are still in full flow and provide a last supply of nectar to many insects. The peacock butterfly converts the nectar into antifreeze against the cold. It will spend the winter hibernating in a sheltered spot. The striking eye spots are meant to deter predators, but they don't keep all hunters at bay. The hornets will not all survive the winter and are looking for their last supper before being claimed by the cold. Other garden animals are preparing for their southward migrations. The starlings are feasting on sweet fruits, fueling up on energy reserves. But even year-round residents like the robin and great tit indulge in the rich banquet of autumn fruits. The red colour of these berries is an irresistible invitation. This tree depends on birds to disperse its seeds. As night frosts set in, the trees shut down their green food-making factories and colourful autumn leaves float to the ground. It's a magical time of year in the garden. But the first frosts have killed off some of the less resilient flowers. Their drooping heads are a reminder that summer is over. The time for flowers may be gone, but the trees are littering the ground with more than leaves. There are nuts and seeds to be had. For many creatures, this is a time of plenty. Squirrels diligently gather stores for the winter. Red squirrels bury hundreds of nuts and acorns in the ground. But this one's being watched by a thief. The resourceful jay has spotted an opportunity. It follows the squirrel's every move and remembers each item's exact position. And the clever bird is just as skillful at opening the stolen nut. The apple is the best loved of garden trees, and its fallen fruit is a magnet for all kinds of creatures. The hedgehogs are after snails and worms attracted by the apples. but they will also happily partake of the soft fruit. At the end of October, strange shapes appear in many gardens. It's Halloween, and carved lanterns cast an eerie glow into the night. They mark the end of the harvest season. But the pumpkin's days are numbered. The hollow fruit, now open to the elements, slowly caves in, eaten away by bacteria and fungi. The last of the season's fruit is ready to be gathered. The humble apple has served us well for centuries. We grow more than 1,000 different kinds and eat our way through billions of them each year. And yet, a new EU directive could mean the end for many. Plans to ban the sale of non-registered kinds threatens some of our oldest varieties. We take much less notice of many other fruits that grow in our gardens. The purple berries of this ornamental vine are poisonous to us, but they are clearly a favourite with blackbirds. The birds gorge themselves on the autumn berries and then fly off to disperse the seeds around the garden. The vibrant colours of autumn seem to pass in a flash, and winter is here. Life comes to a near standstill. Plants and animals asleep under a thick blanket of snow. But the first cover of snow offers other delights. The garden is now a paradise for children. For generations, children have made their own creations in the snow, transforming the garden into a winter wonderland. But whilst the human residents can retreat inside for warmth and shelter, the garden animals have no such luxury. This is a tough time of year for many. Small birds need extra energy to keep warm in the freezing temperatures. A regular supply of food is crucial, and they depend on our little handouts. Others welcome the fruits that kindly gardeners leave on trees. Even usually shy birds, such as the great spotted woodpecker, overcome their fear to take advantage of these offerings. The thousands of tons of bird food we put out each year help many of our garden birds survive the winter. The red squirrels are less needy of our help. They set up secret stores in the autumn. And now it's time to retrieve the much-needed supplies. Bingo! He's hit the jackpot. But sometimes there are easier ways to obtain a nut. The snowman's inviting smile is quite irresistible. As temperatures rise again, the snow retreats. With lengthening days, the garden awakens to life once more. There's the first arrival of birds pushing northwards again. A flock of long-tailed tits. But the resident sparrows are unwilling to share. The sun's warming rays trigger a burst of colour in the garden. The spidery blooms of the witch hazel are amongst the first, as are the fresh white flowers of the Christmas rose. With each passing day, new life emerges in the garden. Carpets of snowdrops cover the ground. And the flush of nectar coincides with the first appearance of insects. From underneath the leaf litter and between every nook and cranny, the garden's secret residents reappear. With spring in the air, there's a new frenzy of activity. From the shy and elusive to the colourful and flamboyant, our gardens are just a little piece of paradise.